Hello, my name is Allison Schreiber. I'm a genetic counselor at the Cleveland Clinic. You are watching this video because your child is being evaluated for a possible autism spectrum disorder, and your doctor is considering genetic testing. Doctors have studied families who have children with autism. We know that abnormal genes and DNA mutations play a role in autism. Thus, genetic testing has become a regular part of evaluating children with autism. Before we talk about the types of tests available, we need to review some information about genetics. The term genetic means related to genes. Genes are the blueprints that tell our bodies how to grow and work. We inherit genes from our parents, which explains why we look like others in our family. Genes are made up of a chemical called DNA. There is DNA in each cell of our bodies. Many childhood disorders that affect the way a child grows and develops are due to changes in DNA. These types of disorders are called genetic conditions. DNA is like the instruction manual our body uses to build and repair itself. DNA letters are packaged into 23 book volumes called chromosomes. We receive 23 chromosomes from each parent for a total of 46. Each chromosome contains many genes, which are like the individual chapters of a book. We have a total of about 30,000 genes or chapters inside these 23 volumes, for a total of about 2 or 3 billion DNA letters front to back. This is a picture of chromosomes as seen under a microscope. This is called a karyotype. The chromosomes are grouped in pairs because we get one of each pair from our mother and one from our father. Each chromosome has hundreds of genes or DNA chapters on it, and each gene has a specific job to do to help our bodies grow and work. The numbered chromosomes, 1 through 22, are the same in males and females. The last pair, X and Y, are called sex chromosomes. Females have 2 X chromosomes and males have 1 X and 1 Y. DNA testing looks for mutations or changes. A mutation in the DNA is like a typo in a book. A mutation can be a change in a single letter, a word, a sentence, or a page of DNA code. For instance, a piece of DNA code may be missing, which is called a deletion, or it may be repeated, which is called a duplication. Mutations in the DNA are not always inherited from the child's parents. New mutations or changes can occur in a child's DNA at the time he or she is conceived. Just as some typos in a book are minor, some DNA mutations are benign or not dangerous and do not lead to disease. These benign mutations are called polymorphisms, and they often run in families or are common in certain ethnic groups. Other mutations in the DNA code are more serious. These lead to different diseases, including some that may be serious. These mutations are called pathogenic. Sometimes genetic testing shows that there is a mutation in the DNA, but at that point we may not know if the mutation is benign or if it causes disease. These typos are called variants of unknown significance. In these cases, the patient's parents may need to undergo genetic testing. Through a simple blood draw, genetic testing can be done to look at a person's genes to see if anything is missing or in the wrong place. Here are some of the tests that can be ordered for a patient with an autism spectrum disorder. The chromosome microarray takes a big picture look at all of the chromosomes and looks for missing pieces of a chromosome or for places where the chromosome has copied itself. Our bodies are supposed to have 2 copies of each gene. When there are too many or too few copies of genes, this can lead to medical problems. DNA segments that are missing or copied may lead to a child having an autism spectrum disorder. This test has some limitations. It does not look at all of the DNA and cannot identify small mistakes in DNA. We are not yet able to scan all of the billions of DNA letters for mutations, and we do not yet know all of the genetic causes of autism. Your child may also be tested for Fragile X syndrome. This is a relatively common genetic condition that causes learning difficulties. Fragile X syndrome affects boys more often than girls because it is caused by an abnormality in a gene or a DNA chapter on the X chromosome. I spoke earlier of the last pair of chromosomes, which are called sex chromosomes, that girls have 2 X's and boys have 1 X and 1 Y. What this means is that if a girl has an abnormal gene for Fragile X syndrome, she has another copy of the gene to make up some of the difference. A boy only has 1 copy of the gene, so boys usually have more serious features of Fragile X syndrome. These features can include autism and problems with development and learning. Finding a genetic cause for your child's autism can help in several ways. It can help the child and the family understand why he or she has autism. It may help predict how your child will do in the future. Some genetic conditions can cause other health problems, and your doctor can check for those. Finding a genetic condition can also help explain if there are any increased risks to other family members. Although most genetic conditions cannot be cured, identifying one can help you manage your child's illness. If the test results are abnormal, you will be offered an appointment with our genetic counselor to discuss the diagnosis and what it means for your child and your family. Remember that sometimes genetic testing shows variants of unknown significance, where we may not know if a mutation is benign or not dangerous, or if it causes disease. If this happens, you might meet with a genetic counselor to discuss the possible need to test the patient's parents. There are 3 additional things to consider when you think about genetic testing. First, sometimes genetic testing, especially the microarray test, can find something that has nothing to do with autism spectrum disorder. For example, there's a small chance that the microarray test could show that a child has an increased risk for a condition that usually occurs in adults. If this is the case, your genetic counselor will help you understand what these findings mean. Second, the cost. Many people want to know how much genetic testing costs and whether it is covered by their insurance. Testing can be expensive, but it usually is covered by insurance. If you would like to make sure, ask your child's doctor for the genetic testing information so that you can discuss it with your insurance company. Third, some people ask if the results from genetic testing can lead to discrimination by health insurance companies. The answer is no. A law called the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, or GINA, protects people from health insurance and employment discrimination based on genetic test results. However, this law does not apply to life insurance or long-term care insurance. If the genetic testing results are normal, your child's medical problems might still be related to a genetic cause that could not be identified due to the limitations of the current testing. If your medical team feels that your child may have a genetic condition or might benefit from more testing, they may refer you to a geneticist or a genetic counselor. If you have other questions, your child's doctor can refer you for an appointment in the Cleveland Clinic Genetics Department. You may meet with a genetic counselor or have an evaluation with a clinical geneticist. We know that considering genetic testing for your child is a big decision. This video was created to help you understand what is involved in genetic testing and how it can help you and your family. If you have any other questions about this testing, please ask your physician or ask him or her to refer you for genetic counseling.